Good evening. I'd like to call the special city council meeting of December 21st to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thomas Masters.
Here.
Chairperson Tanya Davis Johnson.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Lynn Hubbard.
Here.
Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson. Councilperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Councilperson Terrence Davis.
Here.
City Manager Karen Hoskins.
Here.
City Clerk Claudia Anthony is present. City Attorney Andrew DeGraffenwright. Wright.
If we all could stand for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Chair Pro Tem Hubbard.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and our Redeemer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair, you need to do an approval of the agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Councilperson Davis.
Yes.
Councilperson Botel.
Yeah. No.
Pro Tem Hubbard.
Yes.
Chair Davis Johnson.
Yes.
That motion is approved with Councilperson Botel dissenting.
On the agenda? Okay. On approval of the agenda? Okay.
We have discussion and deliberation, Madam Chair. The mayor's veto of all the amendments, sustaining the amendments by the supermajority of the council, and the mayor's feeling that these amendments, which were passed on a 3-2 vote, should be discussed in detail at town hall meetings, giving the public an opportunity to weigh in.
Mr. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to certainly thank my colleagues, obliging them for coming on this late notice, especially during the Christmas holiday, to try to get you in and get you out as soon as possible, hopefully within 30 minutes, maybe. But I would like to, the purpose of calling the meeting was to get this done and get it done, get it out the way, to make sure that the city clerk would have ample, sufficient time to do what she has to do to prepare and get it to the supervisor of elections. She didn't ask me to do it, but I wanted to make sure she had a great Christmas, didn't have to come in for this, that, and the other. I was actually up about 4:30 this morning typing a written statement, but it's in my heart, so I don't need the paper. I didn't have time to go get it. But I really feel somewhat as it relates to those amendments that passed 3-2. I've talked to a couple of people on the committee, and they almost had the same kind of split. And sometimes there were even a tie vote. I was surprised that the chair said that he had asked several times, I don't know about several, but he had asked a few times if the charter committee, review committee could be televised. And I think he was told no. Does anybody know anything about it? But I didn't know anything about it until today. Okay. Maybe if he gets here, he'll speak for himself. But I really feel that as we get ready to go into the new year, that there really hasn't been the kind of public weigh-in on these amendments as they deserve. Weigh-in as far as, and I think when the committee was disbanded or interrupted for a period of time, maybe that left out some time that there could have been and still can be. Public hearings, town hall meetings. There's 19 candidates already on the ballot, and I'm sure those candidates would like to vet these amendments as well. And I just don't think there's enough time to really to have these, particularly the controversial ones that 3-2 vetted in the community as they can be. Also, you have to realize that we have a new city attorney coming on board. We have possibly a new, well, it will be, no matter who gets elected or reelected, a new city administration, a new city manager, and we're only, less than 60 days, or maybe 90 days out from the election. So having said that, I think it's prudent at this time that we just don't move forward on these amendments and allow the community to have more weigh-in, more public hearings, televised town hall meetings and televised meetings, period, as relates to give people an opportunity. I know that Madam Chair, I do realize that the charter view, we're open to the public, but if only 5 people show up, and I was told that maybe 6 or 7 at the most from the public, not from the staff, but from the public, that's certainly not a good thermometer or barometer to decide what goes before us. Rightfully so, this committee has already rejected, I don't know what the number is, 4 or 5 of the amendment, and so now we have a few more, and the mayor at this time will exercise in this meeting the veto to not deny but to delay, to give the people an opportunity to weigh in over the next several months if they choose to, and if they choose to have another charter review or whatever it is called at that time. So, Madam Chair, I would like to, at this time, on the record, I've given my reasons. There are some that I am vetoing that I may not have some questions about. It doesn't mean because I veto that I don't agree or disagree. There's some that I do have some agreement with, but it's not my decision. I want to go to the people to get more input, allow the people to have more buy-in before it gets back to us. And then when it does, maybe we won't have a 3-2 decision. Maybe it'll be a 4-1 or 5-0. So at this time, the mayor's exercising the constitutional charter provision that has been in our charter from many, many years for the mayor to have this veto power, and it cannot be overwritten unless there is a 4-1 vote. So I yield the balance of my time to you, Madam Chair.
Are there any comments or questions from the council?
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Botel, you recognized.
At what point can the council re-engage the services of the Charter Review Committee? Does the council have the ability to do that at any time, such as, let's say, April of next year? Yes. It does. Okay. Yes. So we could ask the Charter Review Committee to come back to us in April with the same 9 or 10 suggestions that they had, recommendations that they had originally at some future date. Is that true?
I would have to defer to legal, but I would be certain that the council can convene any subcommittee that it wishes to convene at any given time.
So because the charter is reviewed, as I understand it, every 10 years, that doesn't prohibit the council from reviewing the charter at any time.
Correct.
I think so.
Okay. So I still am extremely disappointed that the mayor has chosen to veto these, and I have made my feelings on this matter known to him. I'm extremely disappointed that the mayor has chosen to veto these amendments. I think that the people need to have these put before them so that the people can decide. And I think that between now and the election, we have plenty of time to give the people sufficient information as to the nature of these amendments. And I am clearly going to vote against the mayor's choice, although I'm certain that I'll be in the minority. But I feel that it's important, as I've said to the mayor, that the people have the opportunity to make a decision about these matters.
Madam Chair.
Chair Pro Tem, you recognize.
Well, that was a great suggestion, April. If after the people have been given an opportunity to avail themselves of as much information about the ramification of these charter changes, then we can do it at that time. The reason that I support the mayor's veto is because all season we've been hearing about having transparency, public weigh-in, giving people opportunity and to be a part of the process. So I and while people may have been invited or given an opportunity to come to those meetings, unfortunately, it was not that much participation in the process. I think that the reason we don't have to run into a lot of them is because we already speak to a lot of the issues that are here on the that are up for discussion tonight, that's actually being vetoed. So I can support Councilwoman Botel's suggestion about convening a charter review committee in April, and she might not stick with April. It might just, and that may have been an example, I'm not really certain, but whatever month that's decided. I think we could be well within our rights to do that at that time. So I do agree that we need more public education, more public participation on these charter amendments. That the key, the real thing is people have to understand the ramifications of these. Just like the Constitution of the United States, charters and constitutions are not supposed to be so easily twisted and turned just at the whim of a few people. So I say to you that with more education, and as long as I feel that the people really get the ramification, the long-term effect of what is being proposed here, then I can feel comfortable with it. But I agree with the mayor.
Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you. I believe I voted no on the second reading. The first time I voted yes on quite a few of them and supported quite a few of them wholeheartedly. But just looking at this previous primary and general election, the public had approximately 6 to 8 months of information, public education on numerous, how can I put it, amendments to the state's constitution. Only problem I had with that is that while we focus on 1, 2, or 3, there was a lot of things that could have passed that could have hurt the state. And there's a lot of things that did pass that helped the state that folks wasn't aware because folks was focusing on 1 or 2 or 3. But I do believe we had the right amount of time over the course of a year where we can take our time and really understand the pros and cons and hire someone to do the public education of both parts, I think, be fair. But to just come throw this in the middle between January and March, I don't believe that's enough time to educate this entire city properly on all the pros and cons of all amendments. I support the Charter Review Committee for their time and effort. That is a volunteer board, and I would support anybody who chooses to volunteer and to give back on this community. We may agree or disagree on different positions, but you gave your time and energy, and that definitely goes with saying that, hey, you know what, thank you. But I do believe that we need, and that's why I voted no to eliminate the Charter Review Committee Wednesday night, because my whole point was to keep them intact, keep having a conversation over the course of a year, and talk about the entire charter and what it means to the city, and then break everything out slowly and look at what other cities are doing, what they've been doing, and what we're doing, and let the public really have a major tie-in with all of our meetings. This year has been a tough year for this city. We have been doing well putting the city in a better position to what it was 2 years ago, and I think that needs to be our focal point, making sure that we give folks plenty of time to sit down and hear all the amendments, all the issues of the charter, and hear the pros and cons and how we should move forward. And I support the mayor in this delay.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
Thank you. Would like to remind council that the council had an opportunity to allow all of them to go to the people, but the council chose not to allow all of them to go to the people. The council picked and chose which ones they felt should go to the people and which ones shouldn't. And with all due respect to Dr. Patel, I do appreciate your concern and your vote on the mayor's suspension. When that came up, it was a 4-0 vote, and the council chose not to allow that to go to the people. So this is something that I felt, I've said from day one, since there's been discussion, that we should definitely allow these amendments to go to the people and allow there to be town hall meetings to be vetted. There's a Singer Island Civic Association, there's COSA, there's Park Manor. There's some of the members on the board were members of Park Manor. There's the South Side, there's the North Side, East Side, and West Side. And with 19 candidates on the ballot already, I'm just not for sure if anyone would really understand the issues to that extent. And I've always said that I think there should be, these amendments should be on a non-election year. And I still feel that it would be better. I know it may cost the city a little bit more money, Madam Clerk, that we may not have. But I just think that when a city chooses to map its road map out, for lack of a better word, for many, many years to come, it should definitely be methodical. It should be, we should take our time and be deliberate. One person told me today they got on the committee, they just volunteered and got on the committee. So I think that there should be, once that discussion comes back into play, there probably needs to be a discussion as to standards of who should serve on this committee. Can someone just volunteer that may not have any experience or expertise whatsoever in these type of things? But I rest my case, and I do support the what Dr. Patel said. I'm just not for sure whether April would be enough time, because you know we're in the midst of a lot of stuff now. But certainly, whenever they want to rock and roll, let's do it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Mayor. For the record, let me just state that I do not support your decision to veto the items for the following reasons. When we established the Charter Review Committee, we expressly said to them that we were interested in making sure that the charter review and the proposed amendments, that it made it to the ballot in time for the March election. We had individuals that came out that were appointed, that were recommended, that we put forth to serve on the committee. No one is a charter review expert on the committee. They were concerned citizens looking to volunteer their time and their efforts to the process. And so we put a timeline and a time frame on them in order for them to conduct their meetings and in order for them to come back with recommendations for charter amendments. And I just question now the concern with the outcry for public output or public input, when we could have had this very same conversation, and you know, those members of council who are now saying that they believe that we need greater input from the community, we could have been pushing forward, asking for those individuals to come forth and participate in the meetings. It is just unfortunate, and I do, on behalf of those members of the committee, take exception to the work and the effort that was put in for this now to have this decision that we need more input, as opposed to at the time of the meeting being able to push for greater participation. And so for those reasons, I do not support that decision. For the record, I just wanted to be clear. Again, I'm thanking the committee for its time and its efforts, but I think that it is most unfortunate that we put the work forth only to have it stalled at this point, citing a need for greater input and participation when we clearly had an opportunity to encourage participation during the monthly meetings. Do we have public comment cards, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do.
Would you please?
Dr. Guy Despino, Marie Davis, Javaris Jackson.
Hi. Yeah, whether the
Good evening, sir.
oh, I'm
Good
sorry,
evening,
the time
Dr.
has to
Spino.
go on. Yeah, whether the veto is upheld or not, we all knew when we came on that this was a possibility. So I really appreciate Councilwoman Davis, your thanking us for the time. And we were hoping things were going to go on, but we did realize that the rules are, it goes back to the council, the mayor could veto. Everything's fair and above board on that. I do want to remind everyone, though, before the council suspended us, our chairman worked long and hard to have a forum set up just a few weeks before we were suspended. That was an extensive public forum. Matter of fact, I think some of my colleagues remember I said if we didn't get enough, I would volunteer to pay for leaflets being distributed all over, from an airplane to be dropped on the city to get people out there. So we were doing that. And the council stopped us, and then the council really did nothing to bring us back for a few months. Now, all that said, it's also fair, I hope if a charter committee review is appointed, it's a different charter review committee. There were some very concerned citizens who wanted to do the best for the city. But there were some with definite political agendas taken, using examples every time about the mayor and one or two council people that, even the language on this non-interference clause. We had a meeting here. I suggested we tone it down. It came out stronger. And I think some people just want to stick it to the council. Now, that's okay. You can appoint whoever you want. But I think you should be a little bit aware when you have people signed up on recall committees having political agendas because they lose elections every time they run, you really wonder if those people should be on a charter review committee. And regarding the specific amendments, I find the last two sentences of the first one offensive, saying that you have the right to talk to people on the non-interference clause. Obviously, you have the right. People elect council people to find out what's going on. Malfeasance was an issue. That was a real issue. On term limits, I'm a Rubio Bush Republican. But I think there's no doubt if we didn't have term limits, Barack Obama, not Donald Trump, would be president today.
Marie Davis, Javaris Jackson, Tommy Walker.
Hi, my name is Marie Davis. I'm a resident of Singer Island, and I served on the Charter Review Committee. And I did want to talk about the public education that Mr. DeSpigno spoke about, too, because we did make a great effort to encourage everyone in the city. We brought down a speaker from the Florida League of Cities. Some of us actually visited the Florida League of Cities, and we probably had 6 people there. She did a wonderful PowerPoint presentation, explained exhaustively about what cities should be doing, although she didn't take a position. We did make a great effort, and we do understand, I think, the ramifications of our decisions. We did look at the past. We actually had a minister come one day, and I think it was Reverend Burrows, who indicated how important it was that we should look at the past. And it turned out he was right. So we began to talk about the past and the present, and that's how we made some of our decisions, because we didn't want the same pitfalls to continue again and again and again. The Charter Review Committee, as you know, was represented by a cross-section of our community members that were selected by you: lawyers, doctors, small business owners, teachers, community activists, and regular people who believed that Riviera Beach could be a destination and a place where people would move to permanently. We listened to neighbors, family, and friends who expressed anger, disappointment, and concern about our city, how our city is run, the lack of accountability, nepotism, continuous media accounts of our city in turmoil splashed on the front pages of the newspapers. State attorney investigations, inspector general investigations, public city council arguments, council members and department heads under suspicion. They were tired of business as usual, saddened that their adult children have nothing to come back to, distressed watching other cities and their neighborhoods continue to become successful as we flounder. And there were people who said Riviera Beach would never change. The mayor said about a month ago he was going to veto all of these amendments. If you are, Mr. Mayor, a mayor of the people, then why not let them go to the ballot? Let them decide what they want or what they don't want. by vetoing those items, what you've said is you don't approve of term limits. You all want, some of you want a job for life. The supermajority to terminate the city manager would rather do it at the 11th hour. Non-interference means you, by not permitting this to go forward, you mean you want to continue, some of you, to interfere in the day-to-day operations of the city. And lobbying, you want to continue influence peddling. I'm sorry I have to say all that, but that's truly what I believe. I do not this is my own opinion. This is what we heard, some of us heard at the city at our Charter Review Committee meetings. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Davis.
as the other speaker comes approach, if you hear the tone of the last few minutes of that conversation, that's exactly what the first person was talking about and some of the bias that was happening in that meeting. And to assume that I was doing something illegal, because you're accused of something don't mean you're wrong. And I've been accused of things, you've been accused of things. There's always a bias in it, because you don't have control of this city anymore. Don't get upset about it. Just do something to get better at it. And I try to stay in the holiday spirit, but there's certain people in this community that would choose not to disagree or agree. There's folks that will sit down and have a perfect conversation with you, and you can choose to agree or disagree and move forward. But there's some people, no matter what you do, they're always going to judge your decision and be very biased on one side about me doing. This city's been accused of a lot, but we're a great city, and we must continue to do that. This be a great city. If you have an issue with it, pick up the phone, sit down with your counsel, and say, hey, listen, let's figure out where you're going with this decision, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, if I'm right, I'm right, and you can move forward from there. But until we do that, wait until you come to the microphone to say something on council meetings or special meetings on Wednesdays. I think it's unfair to this entire city.
Mr. Jackson.
Javaris Jackson.
Sorry, Mr. Jackson.
Javaris Jackson and Tommy Walker.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, City Manager,
Good
staff.
evening, Mr. President.
How you all doing this evening? Mr. Mayor, I just want to let you know that I'm a little disheartened by your decision to veto the proposed amendments that we were going to put on the ballot. I think those amendments had an opportunity to put this city in a different limelight. Based on, I watched how some of the council voted, and it just seemed as if you all did not see the good in some of the things that we were proposing. It just looks like this is what happens when we have career politicians, because I saw someone mention the fact that there are projects that are happening for 10 years, and it just basically seemed like you all are trying to set up yourselves to be here for a very long time. And I believe that some of the proposed amendments, like I said, would have changed the face of this city. There are some great things when it comes to term limits, such as it gives the city the opportunity to continue to grow its leaders. And if you all are, if the council, whether it's you all or the next board, it's so great. I think that after you served your time here, move on to the next level and continue to do great, but don't, pigeonhole the city for years to come. Like I said, there are some great things like the ethical clause. Yes, there are other agencies that guide us, but that would have put the city, we're claiming ownership to some of the things that are happening in this city. And like I said, I just feel like it was personal, and I'm just disappointed. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Tommy Walker.
Tommy Walker, Riviera Beach.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I remember when we suspended the board long time ago, and there was a lot of talk about why it was suspended. We knew long time ago that we needed to do the charter. It's been 10 years since we had a review on the charter, and I was looking forward to having something on the ballot. Now, at the first reading, I came in here and I asked you guys to just fix the language, put it on the ballot. We keep going round and round in the same circle, and nothing ever gets done. I know Mr. Mayor has his thing on how he want to do things, but the Charter Review Board, I consider they were the people. They spoke for us. Each and every one of them that volunteered spoke for us. I am in favor of the 4-1 supermajority vote. I just want to know when we going to get it right. When are we going to do things to move this city forward? We suspended it. Now, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go with you on this.
Thank you.
But we knew the people needed to be involved after they suspended it the first time. So now we're stuck here in limbo. All I keep saying is my voter's registration card. On my card, it has my representative, my Congress. I can use that card to go all the way up to the President of the United States. But I can't even get past my local, the very lowest form of government. Other people feel the same way. This is 2019 coming up, and I've adopted that I'm going to live my best life. I want the city to live its best life also. So the election is coming up. All the people feel that you micromanage us to the limit. We got to think outside the box coming up in the near year, the new year. We all got to think outside the box because what we have is not working. I would appreciate if all of us take a deep breath and think about the people that voted us to represent us. It's not your vote, it's our vote. I hope you take that in consideration. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chair.
That concludes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you recognize?
Yes, just a question to the city clerk. How many amendments originally were there to be placed on the ballot? This is what I want people to understand. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I do not have that number before me.
But I do believe someone from the committee, can you answer that? There were 9. Of those 9 amendments that were proposed by the Charter Committee, if this council was going to be a rubber stamp, then all of them would have been gone. They would have just bypassed it. It's okay, fine, put it on. Fine, put it on. Fine, put it on. Fine, put it on. 9 times they would have voted, Ms. Marie Davis, they would have voted to put those some of those amendments on. But the council chose not to put some of them on. In all due respect to the Charter Committee, Review Committee, the council had a choice, and they chose not to. So just like the council, for whatever reason they had, and they chose that this is not a good amendment or whatever, they voted. I didn't have a vote, and I still don't have a vote on any of that. The only thing I have left is the veto, which is simply saying, let's hold up, let's get more input to the people. And there's only 4 left. It's only 4 left. So 4 out of 9, is it 5? I think there's, I don't know. 4? I understand there's 4, but 4 left, right? So only 1 goes if the veto is sustained. But it could have been all 9, right? So, yeah, I'm asking you, it could have been all 9. I'm asking, no, I'm asking everybody. It could have been all 9, but they weren't. So let's keep it where it is. Let's just keep it where it is. Now, I don't remember ever saying on the record, I guess you remember something I don't remember, that I would veto anything. I think I was very quiet. I mean, everyone always knew that the veto was there, but for you to say that I said that on the record, I don't recall that. And there's someone right there saying, no. There's someone right here saying I never said it. So the record will speak for itself. But it's almost time to go, I guess, because it's time to get out of here. So I just wish that people would understand that there were 9, council killed 5, and then there's 4 left to be decided tonight whether they should go. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, right now, let's just hold up and allow the people to speak. So I'm calling for the previous question.
Madam Chair.
There was no question at this
Okay.
point. We're just in the discussion
I'm
and
calling for the
deliberation.
previous speaker then.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Davis, you recognize.
Thank you so much. Just to refocus, because some folks walked in the room a little late, that we was talking about cooperation. This wasn't about whether someone agreed or disagreed with any particular charter amendment. There's some items here I voted for. You watch the first reading, read the minutes. There's some items I voted for. There's some items I didn't vote for. But this is about pausing and looking at the charter totality, getting community input prior to bringing it before the board, then board making the community decisions together instead of coming to the board with a split decision before you even get here. We should be coming to this whole thing together. It's no secret. There's no secret that certain folks don't agree prior to even the board existing. And you have to accept that. But if you really care about the city, you would say, you know what? We should be coming together on all the amendments, working through them as an education piece, but prior to it comes before the board with the community education piece, and let the community also have more input. It should have been on TV. Yes, it should have been. But for some reason, it was left off. There were discussions that were happening in that charter that some folks didn't want on TV. And it's that way for a reason. But let's pause. We're not eliminating. I want Mr. Jackson, and I wish he was still here. We're not saying we're not grateful for what you've done. We're saying let's pause as a city and let elections be about elections, but not about using certain issues to drive our elections. We can come back in April, just like Councilperson Botel will say, and we can work through an entire year with no drama, no accusations, no bias, because nobody's on the ballot, and it's really work through these issues fairly. And that's what my position is finding out, can we really come together? And I've never been a person not willing to come together. Me and the mayor, we've had our issues, but we've always come together when the issue was dearly hard to the city. We found a way to come together. And that's what this city government is supposed to work together. That's it. So if people are serious about the city, thank you. In April, we can set back up together as a group, schedule our meetings, don't have as many council meetings. Let's keep the drama out of the council meetings. Let's keep the fun into the charter and just work together through this process. And then we won't be distracted in all other things that are happening about accusations and all that. No, be proud of our city and tell folks, you know what? We're tired of that. Let us work together. And I want to hear more of that type of attitude. Working together, working together, working together. And that's all I want to hear happen. So go back and tell folks, we're not disrespecting the charter review. We're saying pause, reset in April, and let's work through together on a non-election year where it's not a political issue. People going to say they do this and do that only because they want votes. Nah, This issue is about what you know about the city and what you're doing for the city. That's what this election should be about. I'm done, Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk, what is the appropriate action that needs to be taken at this point?
Madam Chair, if the board desires to override the mayor's veto of all 4 amendments that were approved at the last city council meeting, a motion needs to be made stating such. In the event that you do not have 4 votes to override the veto will stand.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion? You may, Chair Pro Tem.
Madam Clerk, so if you want to support the veto, should you do the same? Or that the remark you made only applies to reject it?
The charter specifically states that it has to be 4 affirmative votes. In the event we do not have 4 votes to override the veto stands.
There is no motion. Is there no motion? Who was the motion maker?
There's
no
no
motion.
There
was a question of clarification. There is no motion.
That's what I was asking. So the veto stand